I'm guessing word hasn't probably gotten out, and that figures. That's all right. But just to catch everybody up, maybe give you some background. I have been working on my own web driver for the Sparkling supported keyboards out there. And how this started is I got myself a Slice 75 HE, and it's a great keyboard. But it just seems like the software is lacking and there's no efforts. And it seems almost that way for every keyboard that's out there. And really what started it for me was the macro manager, right? You go to record a macro, it's like, oh, this is great. You start recording, press some keys, and you hit the Windows key, and that's it. It's pretty much broke from there. And there's no way to really even add that key back. And besides, even if there was, it's just a pain in the ass, right? As much as these keyboards are, I think the software should have been the first thing that they did. But I guess in a fashion, fast to market was the answer. Make empty promises of making it better, right? You never get controller emulation like wooting, and they're the only game in town that does it. So I looked into it, and it's based off of a open source project called SparkLink. SparkLink SDK. They have a software development kit. It's open source, and most of their products are. But I think most of you know, there's a lot of keyboards out there that use this driver. If you've seen this before, this layout, then more than likely you have a SparkLink solution, right? That's made, the keyboard's made by a manufacturer, but their firmware and everything else is built off of the SparkLink SDK. So I had the idea of, you know what? Let's just make my own, right? And the idea here is these keyboards, like I said, are great, and they carry, and I would say for the money, I think they're a bit expensive, especially now with tariffs sort of jacking prices up. But they're getting into the price point of like the wooting realm of territory, and the software updates are few and far between. I've tried Newfie, I've tried TKMB, and I've tried a bunch of others, and Newfie's not bad. TKMB is absolutely terrible. Ajaz is usually a SparkLink one, but it looks like they may be using the version 2 of the keyboard driver. So there's GMK or whatever's out there for mechanical keyboards, open source, right? Held by the community. But there's nothing like that for all effect, keyboards. So I started putting one together, and it has a name now, and I'm calling it AureTrix. And so far I'm making a lot of progress. I've gone through quite a bit, and even of just the mechanics and actually getting protocols sorted out for the keyboard. And I just want to show you some of the kind of capabilities and just overall improvements over what is currently out there. Not wooting level, not yet at least, but I'll explain in a minute why I say that. So right now I don't have it filtered down to any keyboard, but it will only accept the specific keyboards. You can connect anything, but it won't work. It'll error out, but you can try it once it's out open source out there. Once you connect it, it gives you your info. And then I've completed quite a few parts already. So I've finished up. I've split up the nav menu into areas. I'll probably rename these debugs for me while I'm working. But the calibration page, it's done. It's ready to go. It actually will register and calibrate your keyboard just as the normal Sparkman software does. All right. And you can press all the keys at once if you want. Calibrate them that way. All right. And it captures the highest value. So this way, if you need to give that one another key press or not. Right. But in general, this is working. This is done. Moving on to key travels. That is working. So there's select all, select WASD, select letters, select numbers, select none. And you can just click them on and off. Not like sort of this UI here, which is like, it just stays and you gotta uncheck. I guess it's not a big deal, but it's little things like just how many pages you have to navigate to get information, how many buttons you got to click to undo stuff. And then, I'll get to this. This is just not what you think it is. At least not what I thought it was. But anyway, the UI is working. You show your global values here, right? And, adjust them all day. The bottom and top dead zones do clamp the low end. So if you look as move it, your top and bottom dead zones do change the total travel of the key. And it also adjusts, say you have the key set to max, and then you were to set the bottom dead zone, it will go ahead and adjust down back to your new top end. So that's working. And you've also linked the dead zones. So just to make it easier, if you like setting them the same, you don't have to worry about doing two, just do one. And they will set exactly the same. I did a demo on this, so I'll keep it short. I need to check out my other videos. But I just want to highlight some of the stuff. I did change up the UI and stuff like that. And again, the single travel is the same. And you can show all your values, or you can just show your single travel or your global travel, just to make it a little easier. And then, same with this. It clamps. You can link your dead zones, and when it does clamp, it knocks down your zone. Also accounts for that in the adjustment. So all that is working. And then if you set a key, you select it, and just click select the global, and it'll go back to your global settings that you have. So I hadn't looked into this to see what these switch profiles are doing. This is sort of a big one, right? So currently right now as a default, it'll set it to 4. I looked into whether or not there was anything behind these pretty big switches in these UIs, and there's not. There's nothing at all. All it literally is for the UI to set the maximum travel of your key. And if you look, these limit your total key travel to 3.3 and the Gateron Jade Pro, which is actually 3.5. And that's not calibrated. That's just what they set it at randomly, right? Calibration is different than what that does, right? Calibration builds offsets into your keyboard's memory to handle the differences in spec. Anyway, going back. So all this works. It does register. I verified. This all works. Here you can actually set a switch profile. So you're not locked into just one brand, right? Whatever brand you want. You click add profile, you get a pop-up, and just press a key, and it'll register your max depth, and you can save it. It locks it in once you have it max depth, but it's done. And it will persist through refreshes and, browser shutdowns. It does save currently to local storage, in your browser, but I'm looking at changing that maybe to IndexedDB, which is a little more resilient. But really, it's so fast to set, and it's just for the UI, that I don't see it being a big deal, right? Key test works, and I did a bit of a shortcut on this one, so I'll demonstrate. So right now, you see X is set to 2.52. Right, we're going to go ahead and change A just so I can demonstrate what I'm talking about. We're going to set it to 0.73. Right. So for key test, pick one key, you enable that, and then you press that key. Press it slow, and it'll actually show you the trigger point of your key, right? So I have it set to 2.52. So the shortcut I did was because the caps locks, like shifts, space bars, it depends on what they're transmitting, and I don't feel like figuring that out. So the shortcut was, I remap them to A. And this isn't just using some gimmick where it's just looking at your setting and then flagging. So, and that's why I sort of changed A to 0.73. So X is set to 2.52. You can see it captures that pretty good, right? If I press A, that's set to 0.73. And like I said, and you can see what this is actually doing is actually capturing the moment that key press is triggered. Like it's actually sending the A. It's not just a gimmick of what you have it set to. And I could show you, I could push another key that's not A, and it doesn't register. If it was a gimmick, then it would register, but it's not. So it does actually register the event happening to give you a pretty accurate trigger point. When you go slower, it's better, because if you go fast, it just instantly triggers, so it's going to think all the way down, right? But if you go slow, give it an opportunity to read it. It's pretty accurate. So there's that. Moving on to, I showed you calibration. I haven't done rapid trigger yet. That is the next section that I'm gonna start working on, and that'll be coming soon. Let's select that one and they're all globals here. Go ahead and set this back real quick. All right. And set that one back too. Okay, and then I did get most of the customization section done. So macro recording is pretty straightforward. It also, macro recording is just recording the key presses. And like I showed you earlier, the big deal is when you press that Windows key. So easy solution is to just do a virtual keyboard on this. So you hit record macro, it'll, so you can't name it the same as something you already have saved. It will flag. It'll say, hey, you can't do that. You already got one name test. So it does flag you for that. But not just that, but it also allows you to navigate across your keyboard. And what I mean by that is it's not just the default layout where the keys normally are. Right. So if I press caps here, it's also going to track that on the map layout. And what I mean by that is across any layer or anything, right? I press left LM here, whatever. It's going to track on no matter what layer or keyboard you're on at all. I can't show that right now because I don't have any keys mapped across my layers, but it will track across every layer, every key press that you have, so that that one's already been pressed. And it's pretty straightforward. You can then save it. You can load it. You can edit it. You can change the timings. You can use the clickers, and then you just save it, and again, it works. Also added the ability to export and import macros. And that's just in case. I mean, I figure because it's browser related, and all of them are. Don't be fooled. They're absolutely. If you test the other browser and you record a macro and clear your cookies, clear your history, the macro's gone. But I figure with the export macro, right, you can record macros and then share them with your friends. You know, if they have a sparkling solution, you can send them your macro list. They can then import it in and have the same macros you do without having to do all the setup. And I'll show you that works too. It's gone, right? Nothing there. I'll navigate across page real quick. Not there. Import. And your macros are back, and it sticks around too. So that's macro editor. Key mapping. This one I still have some ideas for. I still need to clean up a bit, but overall, pretty intuitive. You can go across your layers for normal mapping, right? But I thought, this bothers me if I want to remap this completely, or if I mess up my zero layer and I want to remap this and I've made a bunch of mistakes, right? And I just don't feel like redoing all this. So you can go to whatever layer, click reset mapping, and I'll set it out to a default layout. And if, you go here, this is my base layer, same thing. I make a bunch of mistakes. I can just remap it. Here, I can show you. All right. If I make a bunch of mistakes, I just remap it and it's fixed. Well, say I remap the whole layer, like, you get it with this. I clear this out. Well, let me select all these. I want to keep that one and that one, but I want to get rid of these other ones because I don't need them. So, you pick that. You uncheck these to pick this, and then you just apply it and get rid of the stuff you didn't want. So much more intuitive. I do want to filter this down. I also need to add some. I am eventually going to make it so macros are going to be its own section. It'll be like M0 through M whatever, and you'll be able to assign those macros to any layer. So, but even right now, this is 100 times better. Not macros, I'm sorry, key mapping. But you will be able to assign macros through the key mapping, right? The key trial calendar. So yeah, that is the current state right now. I still have some stuff to do. The layout preview, what I'm looking at doing is a method for everyone to build their keyboard layout. As of right now, I can do, the basic, I guess, most popular ones, I would say. The ones I was able to sort of search up and it seemed like a majority of them were sort of these layouts, right? So based on these key counts, it will load these layouts, but I want the ability for the users to be able to create their own layout and either save it in an index DB, or I haven't figured that part out. But not just that, I also want them to be able to submit it so that the driver gets updated with, new layouts with, a manufacturer name, right? And whatnot. But so far, that's how it's going. And I'm going to continue working on it until I'm done. But the good news is the wooting controller style emulation is completely doable on these keyboards. and I can explain. So right here is the get access list. So this slice 75 does have an access list, and what each one of these is essentially like 1 is your X, 2 is your Y, 3 is like left trigger, 4 is right trigger, and like 35 is your D-pad, and then this is something else, whatever it is. But it's in there, and it's just waiting to be assigned. But the current UI doesn't have it. There's no way to do controller emulation on the current drivers that are out there, but it's sitting there just waiting for it, and it's waiting to be unlocked and used. And I plan on doing that. So I'm looking for, if you guys are curious, this is going to be open source, but I will probably be looking at releasing my brand of keyboard first, because this does take time and effort. And after first batch of keyboards, then I will release the driver as open source. If you're interested in collaborating on a keyboard design, please let me know. Hit me up and talk to me. I would love to work with anybody that is looking to, help me design a keyboard and put something together that people are going to love with some great open source software behind it. So yeah, that's all. I just wanted to give everybody sort of a who, what, where, when, and why. AureTrix is coming, and it's going to change the game. This will be, I think, essentially the first open source software that will offer wooting style controller emulation at some level, but it being open source means it'll just get better for the community. So yeah, hit me up, and if you want to work on keyboard design, get this up and running, get this going, I am all about it. 100%.